Hey guys, this is your host Eric. Today we are going to watch sci-fi genre movie called Antidote. Spoilers ahead, turn on your subtitle. I greatly appreciate your support. Enjoy the video. Sharon and Costas, a married couple, live nearby. Sharon wakes up and tells her husband that her stomach is hurting. They rush to the hospital to be with their child. According to the doctor, she has acute appendicitis and her appendix has ruptured. When the operation is about to begin, the doctor also schedules an emergency operation for that day. She is seen in another location, her hands tied to the bed. Following that, a doctor named Erin Helen enters the room and immediately removes the handcuffs. Then she inquires about her current location, and the doctor informs her that she is experiencing as a result of complications with her surgery. He promises to give her some medicines to treat her illness and then leaves her alone. Her surgical scar on her stomach has miraculously healed. When the doctor returns to Sharon's room, she inquires as to why the surgical scar on her stomach has healed so quickly. He claims that they use an unusual treatment method in this location. Sharon refuses the medicine and flees the room outside when he hands it to her. She finds another doctor and wishes to use the doctor's phone to make a phone call, but the doctor wishes to arrest her. Finally, she decides to enter another room with another patient. As she requests an exit, the patient remarks that she must be new to this location. Finally, the doctor is able to apprehend her and administer a sedative. Back in Sharon's room, she tells Erin that her family will search for her, but he responds that no one will. The doctor then locks her in the room, and she sees a patient whose eyes have been gouged out. Later, she hears a knock from the next room. Someone named Everett sends her a message through a hole in the wall. She responds to the message by asking what type of hospital they are currently residing in, and she is surprised to learn that it is not a hospital. Soon after, she hears Everett screaming for help, and Erin rushes back into her room, questioning her about the past, which she deeply regrets. She lies, claiming she has nothing to regret, but the doctor warns her not to. He also discovers their conversation. He then invites her to check her vitals in the corridor. He informs her that she is permitted to socialize with other patients but not to loiter around the facility. Cassandra appears in another room, followed by a former criminal Lester, a sociopath, Rizone, and finally a lawyer, Everett, the man in the room next to hers. Sharon inquires of Everett about what occurred the night before. Then he tells her that the doctors cut his tongue, but it grew back to normal after a while. Cassandra also mentions that this location is a test. She was recently burned alive. The alarm went off a few moments later, and they went back to their respective rooms. The scene then shifts to Sharon's past, where she stands before a grave. Later, she witnesses a patient being dragged away by the doctors, and Everett rushes into her room. He informs her that they are being used as guinea pigs for a program, and Erin informs him that they are free to leave. In 3 months, the patient brought by the doctor will have returned, and she will enter his room out of curiosity. When she asks what happened to him, he tells her that the doctors castrated him. Erin enters his room, injects the recovery serum into him, and informs Sharon that the castration he underwent was the result of his own actions. Earlier, Sharon soon begs him to let her leave, but he refuses and orders her to continue with her treatment at all times. Finally, she decides to go alone. And in the hallway she encounters someone who is constantly banging his head against the wall. Unfortunately, Erin discovers her and returns her to his room. He displays a photograph of the man who hanged himself. At the start of the film, he asks her to tell him about that person. The man's name is Nico, and he used to be a piano tuner. They were a couple, according to her statement, and he died by hanging himself. 10 pounds of drugs were also discovered on his piano. Erin says he tries to help her, but he believes she is still not ready for everything. Sharon then sneaks out again and notices Nico, who suddenly emerges. She follows him and discovers his piano as well as the rope he used to hang himself in a room. She is taken by another doctor and later tortured, with her legs unexpectedly severed. After that incident, Erin stitches her leg back up, and her leg is immediately able to move again. It's all due to a serum known as BMS. He also claims that the way things work in this place is similar to Sharon's past, when she met her husband, who turned out to be a detective who was investigating her exes. Then she is approached by Rizone, who wishes to speak with her, but she chooses to ignore him and go to Everett's room. She tells him she ran into her ex-boyfriend, who died 10 years ago. When Everett learns of this, he is shocked and rushes to Erin's room to find out when he will be able to leave. Even though there are people who have lived here for 10 years, Erin invites him to meet with management, but he is summoned by the doctors to have his tone cut once more in Sharon's past. Her husband questioned her about the link between Nico and the drugs discovered, but she lied and said she didn't know anything about it. Later, she follows a member of the staff who is working there and comes across a door that looks like a garden from the outside. Unfortunately, it is just a hallucination, and she is eventually discovered by. Back to her past once more. The detective pays her a visit and informs her that Nico's suicide case has been closed and that Nico did indeed commit suicide. Later, she visits Cassandra's room and tells her to flee, but Erin arrives and tells her to return to her room. She takes advantage of the situation by dropping herself on Erin's body and stealing Stoli's key. The opportunity is enhanced when another doctor informs him of a patient's condition. Sharon shows Cassandra the keys she obtained, and they proceed to Erin's room to look for a map of the location. They disguise themselves as doctors and walk down the hall, but a doctor notices them and immediately surrounds them. Cassandra threatens them with a knife, but instead cuts her own throat, giving Sharon time to flee. Lester follows her quietly from behind. When Lester sneaks up behind her and cuts her, Rizone appears and whisks her away into a safe room. He saved her because he plans to rape Sharon. Fortunately, she has a knife and can stab him. She manages to escape and sees her former home with her ex, but she is only hallucinating and is tortured by the doctors by hanging herself until her neck is injured. They will continue to treat her back until she is fully recovered. Erin then asks her about her past once more. She claims to be a drug addict, but for the umpteenth time, Erin refuses to believe her. She enters Everett's room, knowing he was killed in a terrible accident. Then she notices Erin emerge from Cassandra's room and decides to enter, knowing from Cassandra's story of how she died that they are already dead and that the place is hell from her past. It is known that she accidentally killed Nico by slashing his neck while high on drugs. Her husband later confirmed it was an accident and told her to forget it. On the other hand, she purposefully made Nico's body look like he's about to commit suicide. Soon after, she enters Erin's room and displays a book titled Dante's Inferno. The story is told by a man named Dante, who goes to hell to see sinners tortured and then healed, only to be tormented again, but she is suddenly brought back by someone who wants to torture her again, and it turns out that person is Nico. Sharon regrets everything she has done and wishes to make amends by being left to die forever. Nico, who can't stand it any longer, decides to let her go and leads her to Erin appears to be in the way. Nico strikes him unexpectedly. They arrive at a point halfway between hell and life. Her pulse at the hospital suddenly throbs as she walks to the end. The real doctors are working hard to save her. Following that, they notice the bridge connecting the two worlds forming by itself. Sharon was told by Nico to cross the bridge first. The bridge, however, abruptly collapsed. Fortunately, she had enough time to cross into the light. The doctors bring Nico, who has been left behind, back inside. Sharon eventually regains consciousness in the hospital, and the doctor informs her that she was dead for only 15 seconds during the operation. Her family is relieved to see her alive and well at home. She looks up the obituaries of all the people she has met in hell on the internet, and it turns out that everything she has experienced is true. She also leaves flowers and candles on Nico's grave in fulfillment of her promise to him, who assisted her in breaking free. We really appreciate you watching. If you enjoy this video, please give it a like. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel with the notification bell because it is really important for us. Thank you.